They come to me, I'm like, you're looking for detail?
I call this meeting to order. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Abenaki, the Ottawa, and Mississaugas people. I would like to introduce our new economic development, our very first economic development person. Would you mind just stepping up to the mic, introduce yourself, and say hello to everybody?
This one right here.
Yep,
Or this one right here.
that'll do too.
All right, Dimitri Makrakis, Economic Development Officer for North Huron now. Happy to be with the team.
Thank you very kindly, sir. Now we know who to pick on. He's the newbie. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council and Township of North Huron, before we begin, I would like to explain that Councillor Henderson and Councillor McBurney won't be here tonight. They're both ill. Confirmation agenda that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby accepts the agenda for the May 16th, 2022 council meeting as presented. Do I have a mover? Councillor Faulkner, seconder, please. Chris Palmer, seconds. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Tonight I have one, and it's for the 7.4.2, May 16th, 2022. I'm going to declare that my sister-in-law owns bordering lands to the land that we're going to discuss. So I've been advised not to speak to it. So I'm going to give that to you now. And Deputy Reeve Sites will be taking the meeting over at that time. Anyone else? Not seeing any. Public comments. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to speak to an item of business that's on the agenda. 2 minutes per person. And again, this is not a debate. This is simply their comments, anybody that would like to speak. And I'm not hearing or seeing anyone. A consent agenda that the Council Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent agenda 5.1.1, and further that the Council Township of North Huron hereby receives items 5.2.1 to 5.3.2 for information. Before I call the motion, would anybody like to pick anything out? Not seeing anyone, then I call for a mover and seconder. I have Paul Heffer moving. Seconder will be Trevor Sipes. All in favor? Carries. Okay. 6 is public meetings, hearings, and delegations. We have reports, clerk's department. We have 7.1.1, Planner Hallman has a presentation of the site plan control for file SP03-22. Hannah?
Thank you, Council, for having me this evening. I'm just going to bring up the presentation. If you just give me a moment. So this file is for a site plan control application at SB03-2022. The subject lands are located at 422 Queen Street in Blythe. The owner is 2712923 Ontario Inc. To the care of Jazz Sadra, and the agent is Chris Patterson. In terms of the subject property, so as mentioned, the subject property is located on Queen Street in Blythe. Council will recognize that this property is the current location of the Blythe Inn and Restaurant. The property is currently designated and zoned core commercial. The proposal proposed in the site plan is for a patio deck to the rear of the existing building, which is shown in this site visit photo. The following shows the site plan as proposed for the property, again showing the location of the patio deck and as well as the existing parking spaces on the rear of the site. In terms of comments, there are no concerns from a planning perspective. The proposal complies with the zoning bylaw. Staff and agency also indicated no concern, including township staff, which provided comment on this application. Enbridge and Union Gas were consulted on this file as they do have an easement on the lands, and they have indicated that they have no concern with this proposal as the proposed development is located outside of the easement lands. In terms of the recommendation, it is recommended that North Huron Council approve the proposed site plan and that the township pass the necessary bylaws to enter into a site plan agreement with the owner of the lands. So I'm happy to answer any questions from council on this item.
Thank you, Kylie. Are there any questions for Hannah? Concerns or comments? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve, and through you, Hannah. I like it, don't get me wrong, but it is encroaching on the entrance to the parking lot there. Will their patio be well bordered, well walled, or whatever?
Yes, so they did also provide elevations as well, which shows that the patio is proposed to be raised. So they do have like a balcony type structure around the edge of the patio. So I don't think there'll be any confusion about what's the patio and what's available for driving space. And there were no concerns raised in terms of the width of that parking entrance and exit.
Good.
Okay, thank you very kindly. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin Faulkner moves. Seconder, please. Paul Heffer seconds. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks. Have a great night.
The second one will be 7.1.2, and this is the taxi bylaw. Do I have a mover for this? I have Paul moving. Do I have a seconder? I have Chris seconding. Questions, comments, or concerns for Mr. Lamb? Not seeing any. I call the motion. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. Finance Department, we have nothing. Recreation Communications, we have nothing. Public Works and Facility Department. This is, I believe, where I step out. And Trevor,
Not this one. No.
oh, not this one? Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry, yes. 7.4.1 is the Coles Severance Development Agreement. Do you have any questions for Director McCarthy? Will speak to this one or answer questions. No, she's just going to answer any questions if there is. So could I get a mover and a seconder first, please? To bring it to the table. Kevin and Paul seconds. Thank you. Questions, comments, or concerns? Not seeing any. I call the motion. All in favor? Carries. 7.4.2. And this one is the one where I am going to turn the chair and hand it over to you, Deputy Reeve Site.
Thank you, Reeve. Okay, so this is 7.4.2, which is the former Blythe Public Works and Fire Buildings report. So the report has been provided by Director of Public Works. Is there any questions as it relates to the report for Director McCarthy? Just before that, I guess, or just before that, I will take a mover to get it on the floor first before. So I got Councillor Palmer moving and I got Councillor Heffer seconding. Councillor Faulkner, go ahead with your questions.
Thank you, through you, the Chair, Deputy Reeve. On the breakdown of the costing of removing the buildings and paving it over, I didn't see anything in there as to anything to address drainage. That particular piece of property is known to have, or has been known to have, water run through it at time to time underground, which facilitated the decommissioning of the old fire hall there, because everything was sinking in. I just wonder if there's been any thought or any process given to the underground water movement there.
Through Chair Sipe to Councillor Faulkner, there's not an easy answer for that, but when the studies for the environmental works were completed, a lot of the water was, hydrogeologists did take a look and see what was there. Once we have a little bit more information, these are just estimated costs, so a truer cost will be provided to council prior to budget, the 2023 budget.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Whatever we do with this piece of property, and it's alluding to what Councillor Faulkner said, whatever we end up doing, parking lot, maintain it, whatever, sell it, we're always gonna be on the hook for any transferable or movable contaminants underground. And so just keep that in mind. No matter what happens, it's still going to be part of our responsibility. I see the buildings there, and I also know that we're always looking for storage of equipment. So it's $100,000 to change it to a parking lot. It probably wouldn't cost a whole lot just to keep those buildings in decent shape so they can hold a tractor, hold whatever. Winter equipment during the summer equipment during the winter. Because I know that things in Wingham, it's congested up there at their building. And, I'd hate for, down the road, we're asked, we need a new building up in Wingham. So if this sort of prevents something like that, I see it as a good move. So that's my... there you go, Jamie. That's my 2 cents anyway. So what do you think of that?
Through Chair Sipe to Councillor Palmer, whatever's decided, I can bring back further information prior to budget, so that so that council can see more detailed costs of either option.
Is there any other questions or comments from members of council at this point? I do have a comment. Part of the conversation about this property prior to it becoming discussed as to being surplus for our needs was the conversation of, I suspect, and it's been a long time since that building has been a fire hall or a public works shed, that the reason why nothing is in there is because it's not suitable to have anything in there. It's basically to the point where we can't have things in there or people. So in order to do that, I suspect when you look at the costs associated to a building, people underestimate maintenance, repairs, and the overall and the cost to an establishment to have a building. I mean, there's opportunity costs associated to those costs. Annually, let's be clear, is that this cost is a one-time cost. You do this once, you pave it, it's done. The cost is minimal to maintain a parking lot versus having a building where you've got a building that is not in good shape based on every discussion that I've seen and any other discussion I've heard. And we're trying to retrofit it or make it work for what our needs. I think it's been very clear is that, we have a public works shed in Blythe that we just built 3.5 years ago. And I understand we have public works sheds in both East Wawanosh and in Wingham. Arguably, the conversation is we need to establish if it's storage because we're storing stuff because that's where it's easily stored, not necessarily because of its location. We have to recognize what the cost is. And I honestly, as a counselor, I'm not here to tell staff where they think it's important to store equipment. If they want to store a piece of equipment from Wingham in Blythe, that's totally up to them. That's an operational matter. I look at it as I look at it as North Huron has had a significant amount of buildings that we've been maintaining for a number of years. That is there a real, true need for all those buildings? And what I'm hearing from a lot of the work that we as council have done over the past 3 or 4 years is no, we don't need them. Because we've done a lot of getting rid of assets, whether they being sold or decommissioned or whatever the case may be. So I don't see this building doing any different in that sense. I just want to ask, so that's my comment, but my question is to Jamie, there was a report that came that indicated there was a small shed on this piece of property. Is that part of the demolition cost in here? Or, so what you're proposing is complete demolition of all the buildings on that piece of property, and I just want to make sure I'm confirming what is, because there has been discussion about keeping a small shed to use as lawn tractors or whatever. So just confirm for me and the public what is going to be maintained on that property after demolition is done.
To Chair Sipe, the costs that are in the table in the report are all encompassing. So it was to demolish the building, excuse me, the fire hall / public works building. And then there is an older, like a newer, not new, but I mean, it's newer than the other buildings, a salt shed. And the salt shed was what I had initially requested stay for additional storage.
And so I'm just asking the question, you had originally asked for that, and in this report it is now being removed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So is, based on your assessment, is your removing that small sand shed a direct result of you going back to review the needs of the Public Works Department? Or is that solely on the comments heard by councillors at that meeting?
To Chair Sipe, looking at the needs of the Public Works Department, due to the sale of other buildings and the removal of others within North Huron, our equipment was stored in several other locations apart from the current Public Works locations. So we still do require some storage, but we can try to make do by placing our equipment in other sheds, if that helps.
It does, but it's I don't like the comment, "we'll try to make do." I don't like that comment in the sense that I'm expecting you, to me, I'm not here to tell you what you need or you don't need. I'm here to tell me if you need it, then we should advise and understand that you need it, not second guess everything that you tell us. So I guess that's my comment, is I'm making sure that if we're questioning something because we do not see the need, I struggle with that because we aren't living day-to-day life in Public Works. At least I can tell you right now, from a 40-hour-a-week perspective, I'm not. So for me to tell the Director of Public Works or an operations supervisor or anybody in the gallery that tells me what you should and shouldn't have, I think is wrong. I mean, that's not my job as a councillor. That's not my job as a governor of the municipality. So I guess I will ask a director question. Is the salt shed necessary to operations of the municipality? And if so, what would the cost to leave it be there? Like, what cost will we be removing from this $100,000 to leave that piece of that asset there?
To Chair Sipe, you could probably see a savings about $10,000. That's removal of that small shed for demolition, and maybe 10 to 15,000, that range, because then we wouldn't have to pave that area. We would just be able to pave around it. And asphalt at this time is actually a lot higher than it has been in the past. The Public Works Department does need extra storage. Equipment is bigger. The need for additional storage for small equipment that isn't required during the winter season would provide a benefit at this time. The Wingham shop is smaller in size, and equipment just keeps getting bigger and bigger, especially with plows and wings.
Okay. So before I, so just so we're clear, the motion that's on the floor is to remove every structure on that piece of land. That is the motion that's on the floor at this point. Okay, so, yep, Councillor Heffer?
Yes, through you, Chair. I see the second and further that, it's the demolition process of 2 buildings. Like, I thought we had the 2 buildings plus the sand shed, and then
So this is why I asked the question. So when the further that says 2 buildings, are we treating the sand shed as part of those 2 buildings?
To Chair Sipe, yes, that was my mistake, my apologies.
sorry,
Okay, so that's the clarification for that I'm asking, that I asked for, to make sure that we're, because once you tear it down, it's not coming back. Okay? So does anybody have any other questions or comments at this point? Councillor Heffer?
That's through you, Chair. I'm just curious now, through our Public Works Director, am I understand that you do have enough room for the stuff for the storage? Or are you going to be needing some more storage room?
Through Chair Sipe to Councillor Heffer, no, if we have that salt shed left there, we'd be able to store like all our smaller pieces of equipment, like the zero-turn mowers and some other summer to spring equipment in there. We would not need additional storage past that.
So really, it's not one of the things that come down then? I'm sorry, I must be missing something here.
So just, just to make sure we're clear, if the motion succeeds as directed right now, there would be no sand shed on that property after this motion. That's the motion on the floor, okay? Councillor Palmer,
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion.
you are the mover, correct?
Yeah, your mover is Councillor Palmer and your seconder is Councillor Heffer.
So, Councillor Palmer, you're the mover, so if you would like to make an amendment?
I'd like to make an amendment that the salt shed is retained, and then we carry on with the demolition of 2 other buildings and pave the lot.
Just one sec there, Councillor Hoffaker. So we've got an amendment from Councillor Palmer. I believe it's Councillor Heffer that was the seconder. Is he okay with the amendment as directed there?
Yes, through you, Chair.
So I would, if I may, Chair Sipe, so I will read back the motion for council. So the amended motion would read that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated May 16, 2022, regarding an update on the former Blythe Public Works property. And further, that council authorizes the Director of Public Works to proceed with the demolition process of 2 buildings located on the former Blythe Public Works property with the salt shed to be retained. And further, that council authorizes the Director of Public Works and Facilities to proceed with paving the property as a public parking lot.
So I've got Counselor Palmer and I got Counselor Heifer. Are you okay with that motion as it's read from the clerk?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I will go to Counselor Faulkner as he has his hand up for a question.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Reeve. That, the motion of retaining that salt shed on, I believe it would be 435 Mill Street, it doesn't have a separate address. It's on that piece, that's just two pieces of property that are there, or is there three pieces of property that are there? Like, is that shed on a different piece of property? Because it's not listed as on anything here other than the PUC work building. Became the work garage. Just in this motion, there's nothing at all to say that there was a salt shed, and it has two properties listed. I was just wondering, is it on one of the properties or separate?
Through Chair Sipe to Councillor Faulkner, it's on the 435.
Fourth thing, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the rest of the council's got, everybody understand, any other questions or comments as it relates to that, the motion that is on the floor? I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you very kindly, Deputy Reeve Site. We're going to move to 7.4.3, the Wingham Trail Committee Memorandum of Understanding. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin moving, Paul's seconding. Do we have any questions for Jamie? Go ahead, Trevor.
I did have a question. I know this memorandum of understanding is really been about insurance. That's really what it's been about. So I'm going to be the person that asks the question just for clarity purposes. By signing this memorandum of understanding, are the volunteers in which are being working on the trail that is an asset of the municipality either covered with insurance or understand that there is some other insurance that they're needing to get, or is there clarity as it relates to the insurance issue that was raised by this memorandum of understanding?
To Chair Sipe, through signing this memo of understanding, the volunteers of the Wingham Trail Committee are able to have insurance for the volunteers as long as they complete the health and safety training provided to all township employees, and also additional training through the township, just to make sure that they're not completing anything that isn't in line with the memorandum of understanding.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
So just as a follow-up, Reeve, I'm sorry, just as a follow-up, is therefore then the chair of the committee, is it their responsibility to ensure that that this memorandum of understanding is followed with regards to the Director of Public Works, the coordination of this, making sure sign-offs and all that type of stuff, is that going through the chair of the committee? Is that correct?
Oh, through Reeve Bailey to Councillor Deputy Reeve Sipe. Yes, it is the responsibility of both the Director of Public Works and the chair of the Wingham Trail Committee to make sure that proper documentation is in place and proper training as well.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Kevin, and then over to Chris.
Okay. Thank you. Through you, Reeve. I would assume that by this notice of memorandum and the requirements for that training, does that same training now expand to other groups that are maintaining municipal gardens and such? And secondly, are they being provided with that training?
Through Reeve Bailey to Councillor Faulkner, there's two different types of groups that you could look at. So the Wingham Trail Committee and even the Friends of the Village of Blythe, they're like a volunteer non-committee of council. They do require the training. If you look at a group such as the Horticulture Society in Wingham, they have all the insurance through the Horticulture Society. So they're provided training and information and insurance through a different, through their society, so it doesn't go through the township. So it would just depend on, there's no yes or no. It really depends on the type of group that's doing the work on which garden.
So is that a yes or a no, that they require the proper training? I'm directly thinking of, as you mentioned, the Friends of the Village, as they do look after the
Then they would need the
garden.
training.
They would-
Yeah,
oh,
but
thank
that
you.
specific group, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Rave, and through you to Jamie. Reading some of the roles and responsibilities, number one, the group is to a liaison with the township in an advisory capacity. That struck out at me. Some of these folks on the trail committee know a heck of a lot more about shrubbery, trees, maintenance than many of the staff, because the staff is not something that they typically do. So I don't know, that word advisory should not be there. It should be, they work together, or pick a better word. And then the other one was number 9, about maintenance, facilitate municipal approved maintenance. And not all maintenance of shrubbery and walkways is approved ahead of time. Like, you can do a general, well, we do this and we do that throughout the year, but I understand these folks, they're walking the trails looking for things that have gone wrong or broken or whatever, and they just want to be able to fix it, and they know how to. Just going by past years, like before you, past years, there were staff that pulled out shrubbery that was planted by the group, to their horror. Why they did it, nobody knows, but so they need to get together, there's no question of that, but I think they should be allowed, this is getting kind of legalistic, this memorandum, of which I understand they have to be to a point, but this group, they take control, they know exactly what to do, and I really would like to see that they have more control over what's going on, but with staff, of course, like you want to work together. So anything work for you?
Through Reeve Bailey to Councillor Palmer, I understand the way that I worked before, and I do applaud how wonderful they've taken care of the trail. The word advisory and still requesting permission from the township, it is more for legal, and it's more to protect them than it is to protect us. So if, for example, if a bush was planted and it was left to overgrow and we were advised, leave this bush here, or whatever the case might be, and someone had sightline issues, or even a cyclist ran into a pedestrian walking because they couldn't see something, us not knowing isn't a good enough excuse to say, well, they know what they're doing. It is our property. If something was to go wrong and some legal action taken, it would always fall back on us.
Well, make sure they understand that then.
For sure.
Thank you very kindly. I'm going to hand it over to Trevor Sipes now.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. The one thing I will say is that the intention of the memorandum of understanding, honestly, from the conversations and the meetings that we've had, nothing is going to change in how they operate the trail, the communication that they've had with town staff. Nothing is going to change in that regard. One of the reasons why this memorandum of understanding is so important, and you can blame the terminology of severed liability is what you can blame it on. It only takes 1% liability of the municipality and we can be on the hook for a whole lot of money and any issue. So the biggest problem that we have is that in today's society is insurance. Insurance is a big issue. It's a big expense to the municipality. It's a big expense to anybody who has anything at this point. Because in essence, some responsibility is not being borne on the person who is doing something. And what's happening is municipalities, because we have, which seems to me people to seem to think that we have unlimited budget. Well, let's see if we can make this painful and not take any responsibility for what they potentially do or not do. So I completely understand, Councillor Palmer's thought process about, the wording and the context. But I think we have to recognize that this is not necessarily meant to cause them do harm or to treat them any different and how they've maintained our facility. I think they've done an exceptional job. I have not heard from anybody from town staff or councillors indicating that they have not done a miraculous job of what they're doing. This is surely solely to protect not only the members of that committee, but the municipality who is the rightful owner of that trail. People have to recognize we as a municipality are the owner, and with that comes more responsibility and more legal stuff and insurance and a whole bunch of other problems that, a private citizen, if he owned it, maybe not wanted to do. But as a municipality, we have due diligence and due care to ensure that we're protecting the assets of the municipality. And how do we do that? By ensuring that we're protected from an insurance perspective and making sure that our volunteers are respected in the same respect. So, I applaud the director to bring stuff like this to us when we see this type of stuff. And, we had a very well conversation with the chair, and he understood. I mean, did he like it? No, but none of us liked it. None of us liked the conversation about insurance and having to deal with this insurance problem. Nobody liked it. But we understand that we have to work together, and I think the director is spot on and says nothing's going to change, or at least from my perspective, nothing is going to change, just making sure that they are safe, they're operating, doing an approved schedule, and everybody's going to be on the same page. That, in my mind, makes everybody successful. Communication is the key to every success, and if you don't have it, you're going to fail. And I think this is just going to bring that documentation to the forefront when we're talking about our assets in the municipality. Thank you, Reeve.
Thank you very much, Deputy Reeve. Anyone else? Not seeing any. I believe I have a mover and a seconder, so I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? Carries. Okay, 7.4.4, the final lift paving for North Street East in Blythe. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin Faulkner moving. Seconder, please. Paul Heffer seconds. Questions, comments, or concerns? Except for the fact we're really happy to see this going through. Get some completion done. I don't see any questions, comments, or concerns, so I do call the motion. All in favor? Carries. Ms. McCarthy, don't run off yet. You're up again.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize for finishing stuff.
The next one is 7.4.5, the London Road Water Main Project Tender. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin moving. Do I have a seconder? I have Trevor Sipes seconding. Questions, concerns, or comments for Mrs. McCarthy? Director McCarthy? Not seeing any?
Well, Reeve,
Yes.
because I have a lot of projects on my brain, and I don't always read them as a water main and a road. Let me clear, this is the water going to Hudson Heights, is that correct? Yep. Okay.
I heard a real loud yes there. I'm going to follow that question with probably the most popular question in the 3 years I've been your Reeve. Do we have any idea when it's going to be there? Is this a project to end this year, next year?
to answer your question, their end date is November 2nd
Thank you very kindly.
of this year, of
Of this year.
2022.
Wow. Thank you very kindly. So I will have a true answer for them rather than the answer I usually give them, which is, if I asked for it today, I expected it yesterday. Oh, so I call the motion. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. And that was unanimous, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Okay. Fire Department, we have no report. 7.6.1 is the Office of the CEO, and this is the CS-2022-03 Huron County Slow Pitch League Municipality Significant Event and Noise Bylaw Exemption Request.
I will move that, Reeve.
I have a mover for Trevor Sipe. Do I have a seconder? I have Chris Palmer seconding. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I call the motion. All in favor? Carries. Okay, 7.6.2, and this is the Blythe Community Betterment Committee, Blythe Rutabaga Festival, Homecoming 2022 request. Do I have a mover? Kevin Faulkner moves. Do I have a seconder? Paul Heffer seconds. Questions, comments, or concerns? Not, go ahead, Deputy Reeve Sipe.
Yeah, sorry, Reeve. I just wanted to ask, I know the Blythe Community Betterment Committee, I'm wondering, has the BIA, in Blythe, had they had any comment about the waiving of the license fees or anything like that as it relates to affecting how operations of like restaurants and those types of things? Was there any comment or question about those, of waiving those? I'm just asking because I didn't hear.
No, there was, actually, the rutabaga really hasn't come up on any of the BIA's meetings recently, so.
Nope, I just wanted to make sure that we're, yep.
Did staff want to make a comment to that one too, or you're good?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have questions or comments? I will have one comment, and it is so nice to be out of COVID and opening up. And these are just examples today. I call the motion. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. Correspondence, 8.1, FE Medill Secondary School, LGBTQIA plus inclusive group, requesting the pride flag be flown at the North Huron Municipal Office for June 2022. I am looking for a mover on this one.
There is no motion there, Your Worship, so basically at this point, staff are looking for direction on whether council wants to fly that flag. And the requesters have indicated that they'd be providing the flag as per North Huron's flag policy.
Exactly what I was going to say. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, through your Reeve.
Smile.
I commend them on putting their correspondence through and taking this initiative. I just would like to ask staff as to how they foresee this fitting into our current flag bylaw, and if any changes need to be made to our bylaw in order to facilitate this.
So I guess through Your Worship to answer Councillor Falconer's question. So basically, as council's aware, we updated the flag policy in late last year, and the request certainly abides by everything in that policy, and they followed the step-by-step, and now it's to the point where basically the bylaw says that the flying of alternative flags is at the discretion of council. So it's just at this point it's does council want to fly that flag or not? The request is specifically for the North Huron Municipal Office. So logistically for the month of June, the North Huron Municipal flag we would take down and we would fly this flag in its place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
I think it would be despicable to take down our municipal flag in lieu of anything else other than our Canadian or provincial. I do not agree with flying any social-minded or political type flag. I just don't, because then that opens it up. There's a black flag with letters on it down the road. That's a social flag, political flag. Are we going to allow it if he asks? Like, got to draw the line, and it's no for everything. as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you very much, Councillor Palmer. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Sipe.
I will move that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby accept receive the correspondence from Roman Gasper, the LGBTQIA plus group, and accept that the municipality will fly the flag on for the month of June 2022, and that'll be my motion.
Thank you. And I have Kevin Faulkner seconding, sorry. Last chance for comments. Not see,
Maybe just one last.
yes.
Thank you, Reeve. What about all the folks out there that don't agree and are upset by it? What do you do? What do we do?
My personal point of view, they can get rid of me at the next election then.
This isn't through you, though. This isn't because of you,
I will be
though.
voting for it, though. I will be standing solid and voting for
All
it.
right.
Go ahead, Trevor.
So, Reeve, I do respect Councillor Palmer's question, and I mean, there are going to be people that are going to be either opposed or whatever against whatever decision council makes. The decision at the time of changing the flag policy last year was the time for public input and discussion at that time. We did not hear any public input as to the fact that we were looking to change it. Actually, to be quite contrary, we actually heard more issue a year ago when we didn't fly it. So, I mean, arguably, I can respect a councillor's opinion about whether they believe it is true or not. And I respect everybody's opinion. Everybody's opinion matters. We are a municipal council. We represent we're the elected body of people for this municipality. Are we going to have 100% agreement on every decision that we make? Absolutely not. But what we do need to do is we do need to respect people's opinion. And again, I respect Councillor Palmer. I respect the fact that he has an opinion about whether we should fly it or not. That's his opinion, and I respect that for him to make that opinion well known. And I can understand where my opinion is. Democracy is about respecting people's opinion. We don't always have to agree, but we need to respect each other. And the time and the day where we can't respect each other in these chambers, you will not see me sitting up here as an elected official. Period. Because that is not the way democracy works. And again, as the Reeve has indicated, every 4 years, democracy allows to see who's going to sit here, and that's the way it works. But as Councillor Palmer's indicated, the people who are not in agreement with this bylaw, they can provide correspondence to the council that says the bylaw that you have on the books needs to be reviewed. It's then council's responsibility to either approve it or review it or take that under consideration. That's the way democracy works. And I mean, if we cannot be inclusive and be respectful of all people in our society, regardless of gender, age, whatever, we have to get better. As a society, we have to get better to be more inclusive to everyone, regardless of whether they were born at North Huron or not. So I hope, as Councillor Palmer, I hope that answers your question or your comment about what do people do. People have the right to communicate to council via correspondence through the clerk if they have a concern about what bylaw. Doesn't need to be this flag bylaw, it could be any bylaw. They've got a concern, they've got the clerk is there to provide the feedback to council directly. So that's the format, and that's how it has to happen. Because again, individual councillors can't change the bylaw. We all as council have to change it. And either if we don't agree with it, we still have to respect the decision of council. Because we're all here to trying to make those municipality a better place. It doesn't necessarily matter who it is. So I thank you, Reeve, for allowing me to divulge there.
I just want to take a moment too and say that about a year ago, there was a lot of conversation, a lot of controversy over this, and I was misquoted in the papers and I was run down. My friends from this group reached out to me. They came to my cottage and they said, "We know who you are, and we don't believe what the paper said." And I'll never forgive the papers for speaking that way about me, although that is politics, and I can live with it, because my true friends came to me and said, "Don't worry about it, continue on." So, anyone else?
So maybe if I may, Your Worship, I'll just read back the motion looking to Deputy Reeve Sipe and Councillor Falconer, just to make sure it aligns with what you have in mind. So basically, the motion would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the correspondence from the Effie Medill Secondary School LGBTQIA+ inclusive group for information, and further that council approves the request to fly the pride flag at the North Huron Municipal Office for the month of June 2022.
Gentlemen?
Yes.
Thank you. I call the motion then. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. Council report, starting with the Reeves report. I have a report tonight, and I took the time to write it out so I didn't miss any of it. So I will be representing here in County Council on June 7th at the Morris Turnberry Council Chambers as it relates to a planned subdivision behind Augusta Road, just west of Wingham, for 23 units. I'll be speaking at the next Huron County Economic Development Committee, 5 p.m. this Wednesday, the 18th, as a get to know you, as well as an update on where North Huron is, and we're heading into the hopes of collaborating with some of the projects with the county. Thursday will be a county heritage meeting, which I sit on for the county, and then we have our economic development meeting at 2 o'clock that day. On the 24th, we will give Vance Fund, the Vance Fund meeting, and move this forward. It's amazing what is about to transpire from the generosity of the Vances. As seen tonight, we are moving the Hutton Height project along and stay in tune for updates on other projects that will start showing some movement. Finally, I would like to thank our council and staff for moving the old trailer park ahead under such challenging conditions. You listened and acted to the best of your ability to hear everyone's concerns and move forward guided by the laws and that governs all of us equally. I believe in one of our previous meetings, I shared with you an email from a foundry worker who came here to fill a position in our factories from the Middle East. After living here 2 years, he asked where he could find a home for his family because he wanted to be part of the team. He wanted to be part of North Huron and call it home. 74 units will create a massive amount of people that could participate in such things as Legion functions, shopping in our downtowns, community events, join groups such as hockey, ball, soccer, church, social events of all kinds of activities, going to our theaters, walking on the trails. We have so much to offer, including a warm welcome to all. Let's not forget this is one building alone. It will pay taxes, more taxes than any, 10 houses? So yes, this sitting council is trying to create an affordable, sustainable lifestyle for all of us. I have lived here all my life, and as your Reeve, I know the people who step forward with concerns never meant to be seen as NIBBY, never in my backyard. But they had legitimate concerns, and their questions were welcome and debated on. Our county staff have done a remarkable job to bring much-needed housing to northern part of Huron County. My hat's off to them. Let's move forward together, as we always have, inviting new families with an open arms and a warm heart. Thank you kindly. Council reports. Verbal or written reports from members who sit on boards or committees. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I just want to make council aware, I believe me and Councillor Heffer sat at the last Wingham Community Connectors meeting where we were, I guess I would say we're not surprised, as Brightspan came to the meeting looking for some support as to relates to, they are, and I believe that is going to be coming to council on June the 6th as a discussion, a delegation to talk about the housing shortage and the housing crisis and their program and where they're trying to bring temporary foreign workers into the area to fill their factory as well. So, I mean, I don't think it's, I mean, we've been talking about it for a year and a half, as you, Reeve, have been on the labor shortage group. You know, every factory, every business, anywhere, including the municipality of North Huron, is affected by shortage of workers in the area. You know, I think it's a nice change in the sense that, you know, these are questions that we're starting to bring forward, and more questions are being raised as to how it's the perfect storm and how can we succeed together. And I will say that I had asked you know, them as Brightspan, you know, like, reach out. Come to our council to see what we can do to support them. You know, go to Morris Turnberry's council, go to Huron County Council, go to every council in the lower tier that you have to bring awareness to these types of things. And the more comments that we have, maybe the more factories are doing the same kind of thing. And then then the conversation isn't necessarily just within the governance body, and it's really at home with the rest of the other people, rest of the other factories and the other areas around here. So I mean, I just want to, you know, that was my member report from the, you know, the community connectors that I sit at, and they're working to, in September, provide a volunteer fair for Northern Huron, or North Huron, sorry, as well as, you know, the Northern Huron area. It's not necessarily just for North Huron, it's for any community groups who want to join the volunteer fair. They're working at the details over the next few months, but I think it's going to be in collaboration with the opening of the Connection Center from the United Way, so I think that's a success. I think that's a collaboration in itself that is going to breed a lot of support in the community. So, I mean, hats off to them. So I just wanted to bring those two, and the only other thing I wanted to mention was that the BIA has, if people are not aware, obviously, new BIA LED sign is operational, and I think it's a great added feature to coming into the downtown. And they are also putting in together with support from the BIA board a brochure of tourism, a tourism guide, you know, local eateries. It's in collaboration with the Wingham Advanced Times in the sense of having, you know, the tourist sites and the things that make North Huron important, to allow businesses to you know, advertise and that type of stuff. It's supposed to be a neutral thing for the Wingham Advanced Times is taking that kind of stuff with us, but it's to help develop and grow our tourism sector, and the BIA, Wingham BIA fully supported that initiative that was brought to us by members of our board.
Thank you very much, Deputy Site. Anyone else? No? We're going to go to comments by members now. And I'm actually going to make a comment just to follow up with Trevor. So part of the presentation I'll be making, conversations I'll be having at the Huron County Economic Development is about restarting the acute labor shortage. CAO Evans and myself have been working behind the scenes, getting it up and rolling. He's done a wonderful job. We're moving forward with it, and I thank the county too. This is not only North Huron. We're involving Morris Turnberry. We're involving South Bruce. South Bruce is part of this. Mayor Buckle is more than eager to get going. This is a big problem for this area. all of this area, and everybody's looking for workers. We see the signs every day. So just related to what Deputy Reeve Syke said there, there is motion taken, there's work going on behind the scenes, and it will be coming out as it develops. And it's basically restarting the acute labor shortage that was quite successful before COVID came along. And we're back in the same boat again, and we just still don't have that house for somebody. Boils down to we don't have a house for somebody. At the end of the day, it boils down to we don't have a house to put them in. Okay, so, any other comments? Go ahead, Trevor, and then Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I wanted to make a couple of comments. One on the comments that I want to make is a sincere thank you to North Huron staff. North Huron staff, as a municipal employee, there's not many thank yous that go around the table. From a public works individual who's plowing the roads, to the director's jobs, recreation. There has been many of day for the last 3 years that I'm sure that there has been not many thank yous to roll around. Economic development, council, the individuals, departments in the municipality. I just want to say, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody other than myself, but I sincerely can thank you wholeheartedly for the tireless effort that you've had to endure over 2.5 to 3 years of the conversation where COVID has been a topic of discussion. Because COVID should not but what we'll be talking about every meeting and every discussion. I know from my job, my 40-hour-a-week position, I can't imagine having to run a municipality but then throw this matzo ball into it and say, oh, by the way, forget about everything here that every ratepayer expects, but take this and make it look all nice and shiny and hope everybody's accept and happy about it. Because they're not. They're going to be happy about anything. So, the one thing I will say is to be a municipal employee, it is a tiresome and sometimes thankless job. And I arguably say when a lot of the things is to be a municipal employee, you have a lot of respect that you are living here and trying to work in the municipality that you live in. And some you don't. And that's okay. But when you're a municipal employee, you're trying to do the best you can for the ratepayers who you serve. And I just want to say that from my perspective, it's not always thanked about. And I just want to take the time in a council meeting to respectfully say thank you. Because you don't hear it a lot. And you should hear it more. And it shouldn't be from me. It should be from the ratepayers of this municipality, because if you want the job done, if you think you can do the job better, by all means, we got openings. So, I have to say that, I'm not doing this in the sense that, I'm all righteousness, but I'm doing this because I truly believe in the people that we have in this municipality, as they are doing the best they can with what they are given. And that's our role. We need to give them the tools to succeed. And I think by us doing what we've done over the past 3.5 years, and has it been difficult? Abso-friggin-lutely. We've had some long, tedious, painful conversations. It hasn't been easy. But we've been successful because we've been able to go through the process. And we should all be thankful for that, and we should all be thankful for the people who come here and tell us about these reports and not question it. I'm not here to question them. Yeah, I'm going to question here and here, but do I honestly believe they're trying to do the best for the municipality? Absolutely. Because why wouldn't they? Why would they? Why would they wreck their employment by not doing what's in the best interest of the municipality. Not going to be here very long, right? Like, so that's the part for me. That is my thank you to, everybody, not only the directors that are sitting here tonight, but the workers. I ask that you pass on my heartfelt thank you to them. And you know what? It maybe go through one ear and out the other, and that's okay. But I truly believe I live in a municipality where I came to this municipality and I never see myself leaving. And I've got 2 young kids, and I hope they never leave. I hope they leave my house, but I hope they're never going to leave municipality. The other comment I wanted to make is about the reopening of North Huron. Last night, I came back from a family weekend with my family, and I came by the downtown Wingham and the fire hall, and I nearly hit somebody because I was looking and going, really?
It's amazing.
They were lined up out the door halfway to the mini mart, and that was and from what I was told, because I went back after I dropped my kids off because I was not making them stand there, that had been what it was like since 4 o'clock. And they go, well, we ran out of food, we had to call people. I'm like, that's a good problem to have. How do you plan? Well, you can never plan for an event 3 years after COVID, because nobody knows what it's going to be like. So to the Wingham Firemen's Association and their families, I have said this many times before, what they do for the community, and I'm not even necessarily thanking them as themselves, but I'm more thanking of their families, because their families put up a ton of effort to satisfy what Canada Day means to North Huron. Canada Day in North Huron is a spectacle. Fireworks are a spectacle. They're come to here to do the fireworks. And how is that possible? Because the Wingham Firemen's Association and the Blythe Firemen's Association and the efforts that they do. If we don't have those efforts, we don't have that spectacle of Canada Day fireworks. Period. End of discussion. Because the municipality does not have that money. No chance that happens. So to feed 350 people is what the number I got. It seemed like it was low. That's the number they had on social media. It seemed low to me, based on the line that I seen, and I stood in the line for 45 minutes. But yet, the one I was there wasn't one issue about wait time or why is it taking so long. Nobody cared. It was a great day. Would have been different if it was pouring rain? Maybe. But it wasn't. So my thank you is to all the departments, but yet that is another episode of why this municipality is so great. And it doesn't happen only in Wingham, it happens in East Wawanosh, it happens in Blythe. I just happened to notice one last night. And I can look at every counselor here today and I can guarantee you they are able to suggest one thing that's been happy and successful in their part of the North Huron. So we need to start recognizing those types of things and not the negativity in this municipality, because good, in my mind, trumps evil. So let's start bringing these kind of episodes back into North Huron, into these council chambers, under comments by members, and not the issues that somebody has on their side street. We can deal with that stuff outside here. Let's accept the fact that this should be a positive place, a positive environment to bring this out of this pandemic. And we've done 3 things here tonight: Rutabaga Festival, that slow pitch tournament, both of which are going to be an absolute spectacular events because they have been in the past. Those are the things that we should be celebrating in this municipality. Thank you very much, Reeve.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, thank you. This is more of a comment about, like, we know the new folks to the area are looking for housing and stuff. Do we know what kind of housing they want? Do we know if there's somebody sort of watching out for them? Because we don't know if they know the angles to go and the people to see. So is there any way that we can help them? Because there's always houses for sale, and they get sold quickly, and there's always places to rent. Are they finding out about them?
This isn't a question or comment, but we heard your questions, and we're going to answer those at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Yep.
but thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. Paul, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Reeve. Yes, I just want to bring forward on June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, it's going to be the Alice Monroe Festival of Short Stories. They're going to be doing the schools on the 3rd, the Friday, the different grades there. And then on the 4th, they're going to be in town here, an in-person program. So it's going to be different after the last 2 years. And then the virtual will be on the Sunday, the virtual event. Some of the authors and whatnot are a distance away, so that's the way they like to do it, which is fine. But also, a good news story again. I want to thank a couple people in town there. There's Peter Mulvey and Gary Lau. They wanted to, they spearheaded a Wasteless Wednesday in Wingham. They're back a few days ago, and they got the whole town covered collecting garbage. They had 30-plus volunteers, so I think that speaks highly of the volunteerism in town here. It was truly appreciated, and hats off to the Public Works. We just had to collect the garbage. They looked after it from there. Was really, really great. And again, just for making the streets just a little touch up, it was sure well, but there's lots of stuff that, over the winter, and they're hoping to make it a twice a year type of a thing. And that's just a good news story. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Excellent, excellent. Okay, we have no notice of motion tonight. Bylaws, 10.1, bylaw number 54-2022, taxi bylaw. Do I have a mover? Paul moves, seconder please. Chris seconds, all in favor? Carries. Bylaw number 55, 2022, site plan agreement with 27129223 Ontario Inc., the Blythe Inn. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin Faulkner moving, seconder please. Paul Heffer seconds, all in favor? Carries. Bylaw number 56-2022, development agreement with Gordon and Vanessa Coles. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin moving, Paul seconding, all in favor? Carries. Unless I ran out of pages, that's it. 11 announcements. The next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, June 6, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the North Huron Town Hall Theater. The next Economic Development and Recovery Committee meeting will be held on Thursday, May 19th, 2022 at 2 p.m. at the North Huron Town Hall Theater. The next Wingham BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, May 19th, 2022 at 6:30 at the Hot Stove Lounge in the North Huron West Cass Community Complex. The next Blythe BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, May 26, 2022 at 8 a.m. at the Blythe District Community Center. Other business, we have none. Closed session, we have none. Confirmation of the confirmatory bylaw. Bylaw number 57, 2022, confirmation bylaw. Do I have a mover? Confirmatory bylaw. Do I have a mover? Chris Palmer moves. Seconder, please. Trevor seconds. All in favor? Carries. Adjournment that the Council Township of North Huron agrees being no further business before council. The meeting hereby adjourns at
7:15 p.m.
7:15 p.m. All mover, please. Kevin moves, Paul seconds. All in favor? Carries. Be safe, everyone.